Right, I'm going to break with protocol a wee bit. I'm going to blast through the rest of the chapters in part 3, because they're all very short chapters and they move pretty quickly. So let's see how we're doing. Remember, we left Ilya asking if he can see his landlady's brother, Ivan Matveevich, and that's where we go to in chapter 9. And he asks Ivan Matveevich for help, basically, with his estate. And we, the readers, we're like, Ilya, don't do that. But he does. He's so naive, so trusting. And that's a problem. And he thinks of himself like a child, because he is, basically. He's never really done any work, so to speak of. He's never managed to engage in the adult world as such. And he says to Ivan Matveevich, so I'm simply asking you to tell me what to do as if I were a child. And it's heartbreaking. And Ivan Matveevich, of course, is seeing an opportunity. We know that. You can sense it from the writing. And he says, so I want you to act for me and help me if you can, and take whatever you want for your trouble. Knowledge deserves its reward. Awful. So Ivan Matveevich says, well, it just so happens I know a guy. Why don't you give him power of attorney? And he'll take care of things for you, and we'll be sure not to con you. He's like, yeah, okay. It's heartbreaking. This guy's called Isai Fomich Zatyorty. And that's who's going to get power of attorney. So then we move into chapter 10. They've made their agreement. Ilya says, I'm very grateful to you. You've taken a great weight off my mind. Uh-oh. Then we get to Ivan Matveevich and Tarantiev sitting together discussing this opportunity. And of course they figure out between them how they're going to do it. He says, yes, old pal, and as long as there is a dummy left in Russia who will sign a document without reading it, people like us won't starve. So it sounds like they've done this kind of thing before. Ivan Matveevich says, what if he gets married? He's talking about getting married. And Tarantiev's like, are you kidding? You'll never get married. You'll never do anything. He's just incapable, so don't worry about it. And we're like, is that true? We shall see. And then we get this bit where it says, there's an expression, worse off than a flunky. And they're talking about Ilya and how he's not able to take care of his own life. And it made me wonder what flunky was and how it's dealt with in other translations, of which I have one. So I looked it up and it says in the Magarshak translation, worse than a footman. And in Russia it's Huje Lakeya Gavariat. So a lackey. I mean, they could have said lackey in English. I think that would have worked better than flunky. I would have known what lackey was, not flunky. Maybe you're the other way around. I don't know. So, yeah, that's really it. They discuss how they're going to do it. It's a very short chapter, but oh yes, and Ivan Matveevich says he's even making eyes at my sister, Agafya Matveevna, the landlady. So, yeah, he's got a stupid grin. Oh, she's got a stupid grin. So Ivan Matveevich doesn't think much of his sister either. She's no different from a cow. You hit her or stroke her. Either way, you get the same stupid grin, just like a horse with a nose bag of oats. What a prick, eh? So then we go into chapter 11. A horrible chapter. Olga and Ilya are together, and he says to her, he explains to her what's happened with the letter from his estate, and that he's hired the services of somebody he doesn't know to help him achieve his goals. and says it shouldn't take more than a year or so, then there will be no more separations, and we'll tell your aunt, and ... He looked at Olga. She showed no emotion. Her head leant to one side, and her lips had turned blue and parted, revealing her teeth. So that's really the start of the end of the relationship, and it's awful. When he explains to her about his plans, she says, so you're trusting somebody you don't know? He says, oh yeah, don't worry about it. The landlady's brother vouched for him. And she's like, how well do you know the landlady's brother? He says, oh, not that well, but he lives under the same roof, so he's not likely to con me, is he? Oh, yeah. So when he tells her that it's going to take more than a year, she knows then that she can't stay with him any longer. She's not going to be able to bring him up to fulfill his potential. So she feels ill because she knows she's going to have to break the relationship. She goes off and lies down, during which time Ilya does a lot of thinking. He began to see a lot of things in a different light and came to a lot of new conclusions. He decided that he should go to the estate himself, together with his agent, but only after he had obtained the consent of Olga's aunt to the marriage and had become officially engaged to Olga. Why on earth had he been so downhearted? Good Lord, how different things could look from one minute to the next. But why hadn't any of this occurred to him before? So, yeah, his brain flip-flops, sparks from low mood to feeling like anything is possible. It's kind of neurodiverse. That's all I'll say about that. So he goes to tell her the good news. He goes to he chaps the door and he says, Olga, I've changed my mind. Everything's going to be hunky. And she's like, no. He looks at her and he can see straight away that it's not going to work out. There was a weariness about her, but she stood there still, motionless, as if carved out of stone. It was the supernatural calm of those who are focused single-mindedly on the pursuit of a single goal, or who have received a violent shock, and who, for that fleeting moment, can summon up the strength to contain their feelings. She was like a wounded man who, squeezing the wound tightly with his hands, musters just enough strength to get out his last words before dying. What an image. She says to him, my dream was not about the first flush of youth and beauty. No, it was about bringing you to life and making you live for me. But you've been long dead. With all the effort I've put in, I could have brought a stone to life, she said with weary resignation. There's no point in trying any more. You're dead. Don't you agree, Ilya? And that's it. The relationship is over, just like that. And then we get more pages of their breakup scene. And he's like, what's wrong with me? There's no name. No, she's saying to him, who killed it all? Who laid this curse on you, Ilya? What have you done to deserve it? You're good-hearted, intelligent, gentle and decent, and yet you're moribund. What is it that's doomed you? There's no name for this affliction. Yes, there is. His voice was barely audible. She looked at him inquiringly, her eyes brimming with tears. Oblomov, he whispered, and took her hand. Oh dear. Chapter 12, 3 pages long. He goes home. He gets ill at the end of the chapter 11 and ends up... No, he doesn't. He's not ill till the end of chapter 12. Chapter 12, he goes home, puts on his dressing gown. Agafia's mended it for him and cleaned it, so he puts it on and goes back to his divan, lies down, and that's the end. So at the end of the chapter, he falls ill. He was in the grip of a fever. So what to make of part 3? The Olga part. It's got ups and downs. She thought she could... I mean, Does she think she can change him? Or is it that she wants to bring out his potential? She can see the potential in him. She knows he's a kind man, he's a warm-hearted man, he's an intelligent man. He just doesn't get stuff done. So, does she want to change him? I think she does, and then she realises that she can't. So, that's it. We go through the whole relationship to its end. What do you think is going to happen now? Part 4, we're heading there tomorrow. See you then.